Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Mayfield, and I'm the head of content here at Design Files. Today, we have a unique and meaningful presentation. We are joined by Noelle Gatz, HGTV host and owner of Beam and Bloom Interiors. Noelle is going to show us her strategic process for setting realistic goals throughout the highs and lows of life. Welcome, Noelle. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I love this topic.
I'm really excited about this. I'm really intrigued to get into it. I think we can all agree that, you know, life has been lifing the last few years. Lots of craziness. So I think this is just, such a fascinating topic. So, so where are you located?
I'm in New Jersey. So I'm in northern New Jersey, Bloomfield, technically, which is right outside the city. So we're like 20 minutes outside the city. So definitely a city suburb, New York City. Obviously.
Nice.
Some New Jersey towns are Philly suburbs, but we're
I did not know
NYC suburbs.
Nice.
Yes.
So you're enjoying some warm weather then.
Oh,
taking a break from freezing cold. Are you not?
It's super heat wave. It's like 105 degrees. It feels like super humid. But anyway, yes.
Oh, dang. Crazy. Well, I am going to let you jump right into it. I am going to disappear into the wings here, let you do your thing, and then I will hop back on for Q&A. So guys, as you're watching, if you have any questions, feel free and pop them into the comments now so that we can get to them when it's time for Q&A.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. All right. So as you can see, my original title was Balancing Act because we are all doing that as entrepreneurs. And this one specifically is about trying to evolve your business while you're also parenting very often, or maybe you're pivoting from a different career. And I have a lot of experience in these areas. So I want to start with a great quote. Get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. Thanks, Dolly Parton. She's pretty great. But I think that this is really the root of the issue. It's important. I believe it's very relevant to all of us from all of our different vantage points. Whether you're pivoting and parenting or parenting while you have to hustle to make ends meet, or maybe you're pivoting and or parenting while you feel kind of compelled to compete with the top performers in your field. And if you're doing those things, sometimes there's a risk that you're going to lose important aspects of yourself, important aspects of your relationships. And those relationships have actually been proven to be a better measure of fulfillment, of overall, I guess, happiness, you will, than even monetary measures of success. So not that that's not important, but this Harvard study I wanted to quote real quick, adult development, since 1938, the study has been going on. So 85 plus years from a demographic of 724 participants from around the world. And they have found that close relationships are more important than money, fame, or career in happiness and health. So this is what we're diving into today. So we're seeking balance. I wanted to define balance here because I think when we go to Instagram or we go on the internet, we see a lot of really competing sort of influencers with competing visions of what balance is. And I hear a lot of sort of negativity about the search for balance, which I find very interesting. I think it's because people are latching onto the definition of it that says, that everything has to be in exactly equal parts. And that's not, to me, what the purpose of looking for balance is. So I wanted to define it, like show you the real definition. Physical equilibrium, sure. The ability to retain one's balance. Stability produced by an even distribution of weight on each side of the vertical axis. Equipoise, oh my gosh, I love this word. This is my new favorite word. I think we all should start using it. I think it just means balance, but between contrasting or opposing elements, and aesthetically pleasing integration of elements, which we do all the time in design. And we know how important balance is in design. And then there's also mental and emotional steadiness. And then, of course, the verbs are to bring into harmony or proportion. Harmony is one of my favorite words. So I was so excited it was in this real definition from Merriam-Webster. But anyway, I wanted to define it so you could see that there are actually a lot of iterations of what it means. And I have to tell a story about my sister here. My sister's a fitness guru. She's a Beachbody superstar. Her name is Elise Joan. She talks about balance a lot because she has expertise in barre and in yoga. And she's developed a new program that's like a primal yoga program. It's incredible, PS. But what I love about what she says, she talks a lot about how we fall when we're seeking balance, how we have to have the mental acuity and the physical agility to get back into balance. So that's a practice of balance. And that's what we're working on here today. It's the agility and the strength to right ourselves when we get off kilter. And there are actually really good checkpoints for that. So that's the agenda today. I've sort of created these 3 checkpoints, these 3 systems of checkpoints, I guess I would say, for evolving our businesses while we are parenting, while we're pivoting. And these are grounding checkpoints. You can check back in with them. They're sort of worksheets. You can always go back, reevaluate, and recalibrate. So we have take stock of where you stand, identify and evaluate your goals within your unique set of circumstances, make plans and prioritize, which is meshing your goals and talents with your lifestyle and your values, and then expecting and welcoming the unexpected. This is hard sometimes. Plans are the perfect platform for peak performance and pivots. I really like alliteration. You're going to see that. Anyway, an introduction. I am Noelle Gatz. I am the owner of a studio, a design studio called Beam and Bloom. It's full service and also e-design. We use DesignFiles. We started that because we started really primarily e-design, and it was such a great service. And now it's blossomed with us into a great full service program. I have done 2 seasons of HGTV shows as the host and designer. The first one was Home Inspector Joe with my buddy Joe. And then the second one was called What's Wrong with That House? ? And then a lot changed over at HGTV. And so we sort of, we were not renewed, but it was a great show. It was actually one of the more realistic shows. So for those of you who know what's what with design, it was an interesting eye into that. I've had a lot of pivots in my life. I started as a musical theater actress. I transitioned to almost full-time parenting. I was hustling. I mean, I had some part-time jobs. We had to make ends meet. We didn't have a large income. And then I started home staging for a while. And that home staging led into this love for interior design. And then through my own home renovation, I discovered more of the ins and outs of it all, and then started the interior design studio, which has been great. And then the opportunity for the show came up. So that was another pivot. And really today, a lot of my personal stories are going to come from those pivots. So the pivot into interior design when I had young children, and then also the pivot into TV and pivot back, because there were so many learning experiences, and these checkpoints helped me so much through all of them. So I think I hit all that with the my resume and why it's relevant. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. This is important to me. I want to acknowledge something here. So often I go to webinars or I go to panels and I listen to really great advice about, making money and being successful. And often no one, actually, I don't think I've ever heard people really talk about where they're coming from and the sort of upper hand they may have had or the challenges that they have. And I think it's a mistake. I think it's really great when we are very transparent about where we come from. I am in a loving relationship. We made a decision back when we were having kids for me to be the pivoter and for him to take on the full-time work. And so I have done everything grassroots. I did not invest capital, either my own capital or anything, but I did have that, $1,500 to start my business. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think that no matter what people say, we do not all have the same 24 hours in a day. We do not all have the same privileges. And so despite that, there's a lot that we can gain from these checkpoints. And I wanted to let everyone know that I acknowledge mine through a lot of hardships. I know we all have our own ways, and that this is where I'm coming from. So another quote: our lives are fashioned by our choices. First, we make our choices, and then our choices make us. All right, well, this is by Anne Frank. And so clearly from the source, we can see that knowing what this particular person went through and the choices that were taken from them, it certainly takes on a deeper, more powerful meaning. But for all of us, when and if we have the power to make choices, they will contribute to everything that we are. We will have the power to adjust them. with other choices. And it all starts with taking stock of where you stand, identifying and evaluating your goals within your unique set of circumstances, okay? So your evaluation depends on you answering some important questions about your current circumstances. This questionnaire, I think, really helps with that. So after this webinar, when you have your own time, it'd be great to go through it. It asks a lot of questions, reviewing your history. A lot of us live for today and the dreams of the future, and we forget that we can learn so much from our past. And a lot of these questions are great. They're like asking, when did you feel most secure? When did you feel most stressed? This is through your life, right? When did you feel most fulfilled? Are there elements that you want to recapture? Are there elements that you hope never to repeat? These are great things to write down so you can start to focus in on what's important to you. Defining your deal breakers, so important. If you don't have deal breakers, please get them. They are so important. So these are non-negotiable responsibility that exists for all of us. I think the first one is, of course, to ourselves. What tasks are required for your physical and emotional well-being? Then, of course, dependents. What tasks are required for the physical and emotional well-being of your dependents? What values are you most committed to? And then what is your desired legacy? This is one we really need to think about. Think about what you really want that legacy to be. And then you need to establish support. I mean, others rely on us. We rely on them. And I think it's really important to understand that it's not a weakness. It's a way forward to ask for support. So take stock. Who's strongly in your corner already? Who do you need to be on board to support your pivot? That could be a spouse. That could be kids. Are there friends, groups, and mentors that you can turn to for support? DesignFiles has been great for me. A lot of podcasts have been great for me. I think you guys know about a lot of those. Oh, I mentioned that in the next slides and the next point. So are there reputable podcasts, social media accounts that you can access? It's really important to sort of build this support network. And then you've got to evaluate your current responsibilities. You have financial responsibilities. These are vital to physical and mental health. So ask yourself these questions, right? What are you bringing in financially? What do you and your dependents need financially to survive? What do you need financially to thrive? Maybe that's vacations. You need to have a vacation in there, right? And what are you realistically able to shift financially? Are you willing and able to function with less income, and for how long? I think we all know that that's kind of part of the deal very often, either less income or a lot less time. And honestly, most of us sacrifice the personal responsibilities first. But again, these are those relationships that we now understand are incredibly important to our overall well-being. So please don't just assume you have to give up all your personal time in order to make this pivot. You also have to look into personal responsibilities. What are your current commitments to family, to friends, to yourself? Are there safe and healthy ways that you can shift or reduce them? How do you plan to recognize and protect your deal breakers? It's going to happen. You're going to be pushed to break them. You need to be ready to not break them. And is your support system on board to help you reach your goals? Very important. So this is fun. This is a set your SMART goals. I have a worksheet for you all. Afterwards, you can download it. It's from visualize.com. I really like it. This is a very famous now approach, mostly for management, to like manage a team and their goals. It was developed by this person, George T. Duran, but they've been proven to be effective from big corporations to small businesses. And it starts with being really specific, right? So the first in the S, it's SMART, get it? Okay, it's SMART goals. The specific part, that is asking, what exactly are you going to do? Set that goal. For a goal to be specific, it needs to be not only informative, so contain information about the end result, but also information on the steps necessary to get there. So set that specific goal. Then it has to be measurable. You have to be able to measure your progress towards your goal. Can your progress be measured? And if necessary, recalibrated. That's a big one. We're going to talk a lot about recalibration. What's in your control? Activity-based. That's what the activity-based part is. What is in your control that you can do? So what are you doing? Have you identified the activities that need to be completed? Have you identified potential barriers and developed a plan to overcome them? Super important. Okay, now we got to get realistic. This is where all our evaluations are going to come into play. Can you do this? Is this goal too easy? That's another, that I'm guilty of that one. I am so guilty of that one. Is it difficult yet doable stretch, or is it impossible to accomplish? A lot of us don't love the word impossible. Even if you say highly improbable to accomplish, that's something to consider. And then timeliness. So when will your goal be achieved? It is important to set deadlines and to hold yourself accountable to those deadlines. All right. So that's a great system, and you'll get the worksheet so you can work on that. Another quote for the next section. Give me 6 hours to cut down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Age-old wisdom from Abraham Lincoln, okay? It's all in the planning. You got to prioritize. You got to make a plan. You got to mesh your goals and talents with your lifestyle and values. Identify your priorities. This is tough sometimes, guys. I think we try to have the same priorities as other people. We look at people that we admire. And it's important that we recognize that this is another area where we will have completely unique answers. I've identified some commonalities to start you off, and most things will fit under these categories of time, health, and finances. And we dig deeper on the next slide. But for your time, for me, I have these 3 subcategories. It's family and friends, it's work, and it's recovery. I am an extroverted introvert. So I need recovery time. I need to be alone. I need to be alone in nature. I need quiet. And that is actually important for my overall well-being. So my recovery time has got to be figured into things. And often family and friends, as fun as they can be, for me, that's also a commitment. It's a priority, but it's also a required commitment. And then we have your health. This really should not be, it should be a non-negotiable, right? But you have priorities in health, no matter what they are for you. Maybe you need to move your body. You're a fitness person. You've got to do that. Maybe you're somebody who needs 8 hours of sleep. Maybe you're somebody who needs and thrives in counseling and in therapy, as so many of us do. You've got to work all those thoughts into it. For your finances, it's got to be there. It's got to be a priority in this world. You have to think about your income. You have to think about your expenses, and you have to think about shifting factors that are going to come into play that could affect your finances. So if you're going to go on maternity leave and it's not covered for whatever reason, or if you know that a parent is entering a facility, there are things that you can do that you understand there's shifting factors that you may have money going in or out. And that's important to evaluate. So, where I have family, you might have just friends, or, you might have volunteering in your time list. You might have, I don't know, like cooking classes in your health list, whatever. These can shift a little bit, but they all are really important when you're trying to evaluate and identify your priorities. Now we're evaluating. We're digging deep. We're doing the questions. So with your time, no matter your social or economic status, your time is limited. And again, we do not have the same 24 hours in a day. Some of us need to hustle and survive for 8 of those hours. And we don't have the same ability to rest and recover that others do. So where are you spending the time that is not adding value to your life? These are good questions to ask because they'll help you cut things out maybe. What are you willing to take time away from? When will you be able to shift time from planning to execution? How will you recognize time? How will you evaluate it? And how long will you give yourself to pivot? That's important. Got to give yourself space. Got to try not to pivot on a dime unless you have to. Your health. Good health is the foundation for everything that you hope to build. So are you and your family healthy enough to make the changes? That's an important question. You might have to postpone some of these goals if it's really not going to keep you all healthy. Are you ensuring time and money for mobility and nutrition? Are you prepared for the mental highs and lows? These are all reminding me very much when my decision was made to take the television show, because I really care very deeply about privacy, family time. A lot of these things that I see are, not my non-negotiables that I had to calculate and I had to evaluate. So do I have the support that I need to physically and mentally navigate changes? I did. I could click those boxes off so I could kind of make that decision to pivot into the TV world. Your finances. The goal isn't always financial, but the ability to achieve it is. You have to. How much and for how long do you want to invest in this pivot before you can assess your return on investment? As we know, there are going to be pitfalls. There are going to be times more money's going out than is coming in. And you just have to assess, when is that going to become such a problem? This is not a good move for me. And how can I get out of it? Are you willing to accrue debt? For me, it was a no. I was willing to not earn a lot of money with the shift maybe not even earn as much as I was doing odd jobs. I worked part-time for a law firm. I did a bunch of little things. I did the home staging. It was worth it to me to put that money that I was making before back into the business, but it was not worth it to me to go into debt. So I personally did not accrue debt. Often, and it may be great for you to pull capital. It may be great for you to borrow on a loan. This is, again, where our own personal situation comes into play. How secure are your avenues of income? If you are not so sure and there may be a layoff and you know about it in the future, that's really something you've got to consider. Can you accept a loss of income and another pivot down the line? This is where I think giving that buffer of time is so important, because if you're going to make a pivot, you know you're going to be a little short on cash. How much time are you going to give that before you know, okay, if it's not working by this time, I'm going to have to make a different choice. And what is that choice probably going to be? For some people, it might be falling back on really hard things. Like you might have to, do a recruiting service. You might have to do temping. I mean, this is what I remember when I started my life as an actor. I had to rely on going back to like hostessing and temping. For others of us, it may be going back into the field of our origin or working for somebody else rather than starting our own business. But these are all things to really evaluate and think about. This is fun. This is the mapping out of the plan. So now we have digital calendars, and this works just as well. So you can map out on a digital calendar, give yourself tasks each week towards a goal. I sort of based this on when I was starting my business, and I was starting it from having been an actor and then giving that up for full-time parenting, having to deal with a very serious health issue with my baby, and then really just shutting down for work for 6 months for that. And then coming out of it, doing the staging and realizing this is something I'm really good at. I'm really good at the customer service. I'm really good at the design. I'm really good at it. I could do this, and this could be my income, my portion of the income. So I prepared for quite a long time. I probably prepared for more than 3 months, but, and in that preparation for me, that was a lot of things, but it was like gathering photos from the projects I had done, and the staging. It was creating the website, making sure the website was there, learning from the podcasts. Honestly, I learned so much from a well-designed business from, by the way, Nagera. It was so helpful. Networking, going to events, learning from people. But for me, that was the preparation. And then I had a soft launch. I was posting, I posted my website, but I wasn't advertising it. So I was like out there, and I was like playing around with the tiers and the finances of it all. I was doing projects. I was doing deeply discounted work and being very honest about it. I'm doing deeply discounted work right now because I haven't really launched my business full time, because I'm gaining experience. And so those things were important. And then the full launch, even when I wasn't ready, I did it. It was like, I was advertising the website. I was on the socials. I was handing out business cards. I was going to networking events. I was establishing a solid pricing tier and a work schedule so I could work that into my life, because I was still a full-time parent, essentially. My kids had just started school. My littlest started preschool, I think, when I was launching my business. So she was only in school like 3 hours a day. I had to really map that out. And then I gave myself another few months to adjust and maintain that, to see if the goals I were setting were either too easy or too hard. I was reevaluating using all this criteria that I've discussed already. And then it's evolution for life, right? I mean, because the next thing happens, right? No matter what you plan. And why is it good to map out a plan in writing? There are studies on this. This is really cool. Harvard Business Study found that 3% of graduates from their MBA, mind you, this is like business school, but they still earned a ton more. They ended up earning 10 times as much as the other 97% put together just 10 years after graduation, because they wrote their goals down. Okay, that's crazy. So there's so many stats here, but one of my favorite ones is that if you write down your goals, you are 42% more likely to achieve them. That's incredible. This is the whole manifestation thing. It is real that if you write things down and if you follow plans, and if you give yourself goals, you are much more likely to reach them. And especially if you are wise enough to recalibrate when you have to. So this is just some interesting stats for that. Another quote: those who say it can't be done are usually interrupted by others doing it. All right, this was a James Baldwin quote. I think that this quote speaks to the importance of action to like quell the internal and external voices of the naysayers, but also it speaks to the importance of expecting and welcoming change, right? Even when it's hard. And that is why we expect and welcome the unexpected. Plans are the perfect platform for peak performance and pivots. That was my big alliteration one, guys. Sorry about that. For the many of us who like things to be neat and tidy, this is probably going to freak you out a little bit, but this is like real. This is like kind of really based on things I went through, and all of us do. I mean, just because mine was mine, yours are yours. No matter what your planning is, there's going to be things that are thrown into it, right? So it's loosely based on my experience. So this is one as I prepared to pursue yet another new endeavor while full-time parenting. That was sort of the TV show on top of the work I was already doing as a designer. And it was I'm a small business. It's just me as the designer. And then I have contractual employees. So I'll have like a bookkeeper. I had rendering services, and I had an assistant, which was great. But it was just me designing. So this is kind of an example. So this is what actually happens. The other one was the plan. This is what actually happened. So a health emergency came up right before my soft launch was supposed to happen. So that had to be postponed 2 weeks. Then I had to look at it. Can I still postpone that 2 weeks? And then can I still do my full launch? No. So I had to like soft launch when I was going to full launch, and then full launch when I was adjusting and maintaining. Everything kind of got shifted. So I was preparing for that. I was preparing to take on new clients. I was growing with my my team. My team was growing. And then, I mean, in this instance, I'm saying you have an offer to host a house tour in France or something. That's great. That's cool. Mine was the TV show came up. Okay. I really want to do that. I'm an ex-theater actress. I love sharing. Weird because I am an extroverted introvert, right? It is weird, but it's true. I love to share. And I took that opportunity. So what that did was that meant I didn't take on as many new clients because my priorities were such that my time with my family and my being present for the most part was a non-negotiable. Having time with my spouse was a non-negotiable. It didn't mean I had as much time with them, but to make sure I had that time, I could not be growing my business, taking on new clients, and doing the television show. So that's a choice that I made with my mind's eye towards the recalibrating. If the show didn't work out, I would have to rebuild my business. And what would that look like? How much time would that take? It did turn out, actually, we got a second season. So that was a whole nother pivot. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a real thing. And then, another pivot when it didn't quite keep going. But again, I had in mind, based on my plan, how I could jump back into it. And this is a weirdly short slide for like what I have to say about it. I know we're almost done, and that's fine. We're almost done. So, but the thing is, you do the plans because even though there are inevitable problems, there are inevitable shifts that are going to happen. When you have that plan, it really helps you to develop a contingency plan. So because I had that plan, I had those goals mapped out, I had my priorities, I had my deal breakers, all those things, it was much easier for me to come up with a contingency plan. If I got a really great opportunity for a personal client while I was doing the show, I had an idea. I could probably take it. Here's where my shifts would have to happen. Here's for how long they would have to happen. Here's who I'd have to bring on. But I knew I could do it. And I don't think I would have known that had I not mapped out this plan. One is to see the progress you've made. You can often look back, and even if you don't hit every specific goal, you can really see the progress you made. I mean, even right now, sometimes I compare myself. I came off the show and then had to rebuild my personal client base. And then I think about how far I've come from when I launched my business. I mean, incredible. I'm making, I'm charging way more than I was charging then. I thought I'd never be able to charge this much. I thought I'd never, you just get there and you see the progress. It's really fantastic. Another one is to open up possibilities for improvement. When you do see where you fell short, when you do see where you didn't meet a goal, you recalibrate, you figure out, why did I not meet that goal? Was it personal reasons? Was it my deal breakers? Was it finances? And then you can reevaluate, recalibrate. I really love this one. It's to avoid false comparison. I could go into this for a long time. Maybe you guys will have questions about it. This is where I did this a lot because I was on national television for 2 seasons, and I would wonder things like, why don't I have the following? Why am I not, I wasn't pursuing that, but it was like a lot of comparison to other people. And then I realized it was not within my values. It wasn't within my values to try to be famous. So I wasn't really doing the work that I would need to do to put myself there. I wasn't interested in self-production. I wasn't interested in intense content creation, and I really didn't share family photos and things like that, just to protect my family and what they were interested in being protected. So this is a good one. You can't compare yourself to other people, and it's easier not to if you have your plan, your goals mapped out. So I love that. It also helps develop your processes and your business model. So that's fantastic. You can just see what things are working for you, how long things are taking you. It really helps you evaluate and grow. And then, of course, you want to recognize and avoid burnout. So for me, right now, I'm actually in a place where I'm trying to avoid burnout because I've taken on probably more than I can efficiently handle with all of my values securely in place. But I know that I'm on the route to clean things up enough. I'm on the route to balance. So even though I'm losing my balance at this moment a little bit, I am not far from getting back onto it. This is not something I'm going to maintain. It's not maintainable. It's not sustainable for me. So it's allowing me to recognize that there's burnout coming and what do I have to do to stop it? So finally, I think it's my second to final quote, but what was meant for me will never miss me, and what misses me was never meant for me. Okay. This is an ancient quote, ancient wisdom, universal in its truth. Though it implies this, it leaves out the part where we know and evaluate. We know that our lives and ourselves, we have to evaluate our lives and ourselves. We have to do the work. Like we know that. That doesn't really talk about that. You still have to do the work, but that if you do the work, this is very true. And then thanks. That's it, really. Takeaways I hope you get. I hope you have the tools now to work through your unique set of circumstances and responsibilities. I hope you can put your plans to paper. And I hope that you do not let unexpected events and opportunities completely derail you. And that's pretty much it. And then I'd love to continue collaborating. I have contact info here. I do consultations, like business consultations and answering questions about the TV show and work in TV, where there's a lot of work in TV. So if you're interested in that, I'm doing 10% off with a code. Oh shoot, what's the code? I think it's webinar 10. It's webinar 10. And it's on Design Files if you want to book that. And then, you know, here we are, exactly where we have to be and not where we'll be forever. And that is my own quote. And I was pretty proud of myself for that one. I'm not going to lie. It made me feel better.
Yeah, exactly where we have to be and not where we'll be forever. I love that.
This is where the power of your choices and your goal orienting and all of that really comes into play. So thank you so much. I think I have a thank you slide.
Yeah, I'm just dropping the link where you guys can grab the slides and the smart worksheet that Noelle has for us. We're also going to email that out with the replay, but you know, it's so fun to be able to look at the slides and go through because this is such an interactive process. So I just put a little comment there where you guys can find and download the slides. Yeah. So let's see. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, so we're getting a comment that says, Noelle, thank you. That was succinct and on target.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic. So if anybody has any questions, please drop them in the
I mean, I'll just say,
feel free to open it up. Feel free to ask questions about even
anything.
Feel free to
I'm very open. I'm a very candid person. As you know, I tell the truth.
Yes.
So I mean, I have
to design or marketing or goal setting. Let us know anything that comes up.
Just personal values. I think it's so important because that's where we forget sometimes. I guess I did talk about it, but just when we're pursuing this like career, what we evaluate as success is not the same for everybody. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if somebody else wants to make the most money or wants to travel the most. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it was very clear through these evaluations for me that that was not what I wanted. And that when I was comparing myself to people who are doing those things, I was like, wait, but why am I doing that? That's not even what I really want. I'm happiest when I'm doing this or that. So
yeah, this is so important for us as online, business owners, because like, holy moly, we are just hit with constant
social media and stuff. Yeah.
Constant content. Yeah. And it's so easy to just kind of arbitrarily pick somebody that you think, oh, I like the business that they have. Let me follow them. Let me kind of, lust after what they're doing. Feel a little feel a little inferior. Then, you know, a year later, they're going through some, you know, really difficult, you know, life thing that you're like, oh, I don't even know what's going on in this person's life. I'm just taking advice from them, but it's not even really with my values, or, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So like Janine has this question. She's saying, have you dealt with the marketing, the finance side? That's very interesting. So this is where I realized that I didn't need to market the way everyone else is telling me to market. What I do think is valuable, just point blank, it's valuable to have a website. Obviously, you should always have an online presence. You should have an Instagram because it's a visual site. But do you have to play the game of Instagram? No, you can actually be very successful just with a place that people can reference. So to me, that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? I'm seeing more business come in. People are definitely looking at my Instagram being like, oh, I like that. Or, you know, when I talk or they get an intro to me, they know me and they like me. And the TV show helped with that a lot. So people are getting what they get on the TV show. So when they call me, if they call me based on that, they're like, oh, that's really her. That's great. But I realized that locally, for local performance and local, which is what I want mostly for full service, you don't have to do super expansive marketing. For me, I didn't. So I do networking events. I meet with people. I talk to people. I have great relationships with people. I have great referrals. And I keep and maintain a presence on Instagram that is enough to show that I am active and I'm interested and that I'm available, but not to play the game of, you know, the likes, the views. I mean, I don't mind getting some views, but I haven't seen that translate into business. So I would say
it's more of like showcasing who you are so that people that maybe found you some other place, they can kind of check you out.
For me,
like the dating process,
right? For me. But if you want sponsorships and you want, you know, then your follower count matters. But if that's your goal, that's a different goal. And maybe you have a bigger team or you have more to invest. And if that's where you want to invest your money, absolutely. But this is, again, where you need to evaluate where you want to spend your money. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. It's just so overwhelming. All of the different, you know,
you have to remember it's fleeting, the changes. If you are doing things that are bringing you in more business, you're doing things right. If you're not, change it. So like what Janine was asking, if you're finding, you know, I need to market, I'm not getting my name out there, drop off your business cards, go to networking events, get maybe a stronger presence on social media or online. But it's just try something different. Or maybe that's where you need to invest, because if you're just so not into doing those things, you might need to spend some money on somebody who can help you with that.
Yeah. I'm curious what kind of networking events you
so many. I personally am very supportive of local designers. So I will go to there's a lot of women empowerment groups too. I don't know if we have gentlemen here as well, but there's a lot of groups that are geared towards women in business. And sometimes they do cost some money. Usually the first couple are free. So you can kind of go to those and like see what it's all about. And we had some really great ones that were free in our area. And then we had some that were like so affordable. It was like $10 or something. And you would go and you would meet these other women in business usually, or entrepreneurs. And you just get in their ear about, you know, they know who you are. They know what you're about. They've met you. You meet with builders. You stop on the contractor sites. I mean, these networking events are great. Design societies, ASID is an awesome opportunity for design community. I'm joining that one. That's my friend Paul. He's the membership guy. So hit him up. But absolutely. So I was going to say that next. It's the design membership communities, and there's a lot of them depending on what you're into. There's NKBA for National Kitchens and Bath. I'm a member of the Designer Society of America. There's all kinds of options.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Let's see. Shall we, I'm trying to think. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to think about any other little
tidbits.
Any other tidbits? Actually, what's like the most recent way that you have used this system to kind of come up with your goals? Like what are your goals for like the remainder of this year?
Yeah. Right. Well, I'm in a transition. So I actually had to recalibrate how I was functioning my business. So for a while I'd hired somebody to be a design assistant essentially. And I was hoping that would grow into sort of an associate designer position. Then I'd have somebody who could do sort of the e-designs and like other things like that. And I could just kind of be the creative director of it all, which is sort of my goal, honestly, ultimately, is to be a designer, but to creative direct maybe a few other designers. So they're all within our same ethos and approach. But that wasn't working for me. I found I was paying somebody a lot of money for me to like do things I could do. And I wasn't seeing the return on investment. So it became clear to me that I need to put more money into more project management, that kind of stuff where somebody could just take those things off my plate that it was less necessary that I do. So that's a shift I had to make recently. I also put some money into some marketing that I don't usually do to like get my name out there to do some things. I'm pivoting towards building a portfolio. So right now my goals are build a portfolio, get yourself out there a little bit more, and get a better system on my team. So those are my goals. Those are probably like 6-month out goals, see where I land there. And then I'll be able to go to the next ones.
Nice. Love that. Is that like a specific type of portfolio that you're wanting to kind of?
It's just the new work. Yeah. So getting the new work photographed.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Yes. I think investing. So this is an interesting story as well. When I was doing the show, I kind of assumed that they were going to take all these beautiful pictures of the finished product, and they didn't. And so I spent that whole first season with like my own photographs because I was kind of on a tight budget also because I had given up a lot of things to do the show, which doesn't pay you usually in the beginning unless you're a superstar, which I was not. And I loved the work, but I wasn't capturing it right. So I figured that out for the second season. And then I took some of my own branding shots, but I also couldn't afford the super high-end shots. And we didn't have the time because we were showing up like that morning. We were still staging and styling, getting ready for the show. So like I had someone come in there for an hour and like take pictures with me. We'd run all over the place. Yeah. So my portfolio suffered. Even though I had 18 projects, I didn't have the proper photographs. So now it's a ways out because a lot of these projects aren't even going to wrap till fall. I had, one from a year ago or so that I just photographed, but
yeah.
So that's a big goal.
That's a great goal. Yeah. I mean, it's so much work. It's doing the work and then
it's an expense.
And then creating and a big expense. Yeah. Definitely. That's great. I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there any other little thing that you wanted to mention?
I would love if people want to share. I mean, if anyone's here, if they want to share any of their stories. I mean, it's been such an interesting, again, people come from so many different places. Somebody said, I really struggle with getting enough photos to build my portfolio. Any tips on how to bulk up my photo collection? Yeah. I mean, you got to spend some money usually because really it's the quality is super important. The quality is super important for anything. I mean, for this, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just trying to put an online portfolio, you can have vignettes, you can have a lot of things, but to really get the quality professional photographs, it's important. So if you have a project that's completed, ideally you'll spend some money and get some professional photographs done and you'll see the difference there. And even if you have, like, if you can get, I don't even have often whole house projects yet. Like I have a lot of like kitchens into living rooms, into dining rooms, like the main living space. And then I'll have whole primary suites, but I'm not yet. And that's another goal for like a year, but I'm not yet doing that very often where I'm doing whole houses. But even then, if you can just get if you get like beautiful kitchen shots and you've done 2 kitchens, or you have a couple living room shots, you can get them from 3 different angles. They look almost like different spaces. It's worth the investment to see the caliber that you'll get. And you can either submit to some digital publications, which often do one-offs. So they'll do like just bathrooms or just bedrooms. Local publications will do that. And then you can start submitting yourself for things like publications, maybe even awards. If you're a part of these design societies, I haven't done that yet. I did not dive into the awards, and that's actually not on my goals right now. But maybe once I get my photographs, I'll be like, oh, I should apply for some awards.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Somebody asked a question on time management.
Yes. Oh my God. Can I share a workbook? Hold on.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. I had to get up. So this is a workbook. I think I'm allowed to share this stuff. This is incredible. Seeing My Time, the SCLAR process by Mary D. SCLAR. Okay. We as a family took an executive functioning class for one of our kids who needed it.
Okay.
It was incredibly enlightening.
Okay.
But I would say in general, for me, time management, I need to see it. I need it guided out on my calendar. This is where the goal setting and the timelines really come into play. And then checking on your goals. And that's why those SMART goals really, really help. So for time management, there's a bunch of different skill sets you can use. For me, I'm very visual. I need to see it in my calendar. Like I forget my schedule and then I need to wake up in the morning and see it. And I'm like, oh, okay, my day's mapped out for me. Somebody else says, Erin says she's in a pivot after being established for 20 years in a community, struggling with the marketing and networking that is needed while balancing the geographical change. That's huge. It'll take time. It'll take time. That's okay. I think you have to give yourself the grace and the time. And don't diminish the impact you can have in just putting yourself out there. Absolutely. You get to know people, and the more you can support other people, the more they'll want to support you. We've had a bad rap in this industry, and Paul knows, he's my good buddy, of not supporting one another, of being competitive, of being scared of the scarcity of the work and all this other stuff. I just don't buy it. I just think there's work meant for all of us. And the more you support your fellow designers or whatever business you're in, the more you support them and show interest and genuinely value them, the more they also will see how that can be reciprocated, how that's a good thing. That helps a ton. I mean, I've had friends when I was doing the show and I like couldn't take work, I was giving them work. I was like giving them work. And then, you know, when they became too busy and I was done, they would recommend me. Right. So it's very nice. It's very nice to make those connections. Just give yourself time. It's going to take time, and don't believe that there's any scarcity. I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Janine is saying she stinks at stuff. Oh gosh. Yeah. I think, listen, I don't think you need to invest a lot in social media. I mean, this is an unpopular opinion. I just think it depends on what you want out of it. I think you can put 12 images up on social media with just a nice caption and have something that people can see. And then maybe you just post a couple stories when you're on site and tell a little bit about that. That's an easy thing to do. And then maybe every once in a while you post a lovely photo of either something complete or something you're doing. I also can't spend the money on social media. Honestly, that's not something I can spend the money on right now. So again, like she says, she's focusing on the design side. I think that's brilliant. Focus on the design, focus on the work, focus on you're getting referrals, probably if you're doing a good job, and you're building your resume, you're building your portfolio. Instagram might not bring you work by investing in it. Now, having it, I think, brings you work and can bring you work, but investing much is depends what you want. If you just want to have a successful design business, I don't think it's necessary personally.
Right. I feel like the one thing that is like usually worth outsourcing though is bookkeeping. What do you think?
Yes, 100%. Oh, that's the first thing I did. I knew, I mean, I think it depends on the person. So I have a dear friend, Beth Diana Smith. She's very famous. You probably know her, but she was an accountant. So like she does her own books because she loves that. It is so beyond my interest. The first person I hired was a bookkeeper. Absolutely. And it's challenging for them because of our work. But you have to find somebody who can understand it and like pick up on it, like the reselling, all that stuff. But definitely takes so much time. I can't. Absolutely. That was my first contract employee.
Yeah, that usually like will free up a lot of time. But like the marketing,
what you guys do, what you guys do on Design Files makes it super easy for her. So when it syncs to QuickBooks, she uses QuickBooks.
Integration.
We sync it, and she knows when something's off, and she can ask me about it. But yeah, the more sophisticated the systems on Design Files get, the better. Like it's been great. So it's been very helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it feels like outsourcing marketing seems to be really difficult for designers to get ROI from. That seems
I agree. I did it for a while when I was on the show and I was like, oh, this is going to blow up. I'm going to hire somebody to do my like social media, my marketing, because I can't handle it. It was not a return on investment for me. It was not. I didn't have enough. I didn't have what I thought I would have, the support of like the marketing from the network, which I thought was going to be happening, wasn't really happening, and then it just, my voice was so important in the social media posting and the marketing that like when somebody else was doing it, it was challenging. And then I had to wind up sending them all the content anyway.
Yeah. So you end up having to do a lot of it.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you have an easy route for that, I mean, I think a lot of people hire young people and they're sort of in-house. They're sort of like hourly employees for the week and they follow them around and they do the content. Again, if that's what your goal is, to be a content creator, it's great. Otherwise, I mean, I'm busy just doing the design work. So I don't know how people do all that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, finding a bookkeeper that works with designers, she says, is a challenge. I think you can teach them a lot if you're willing to. I don't think it's like crazy for them to understand. I think
We did a workshop with a firm. They're called Business by the Book. I think it's businessbythebook.money. They're actually a bookkeeping firm that specializes in working with interior designers. So you can probably find people that are niched in that, which is probably important with all the, I mean, because it is far more complicated than
for me. It's mostly the accountant. Getting an accountant who understands is even harder. I think the bookkeepers can grasp it better, just because like money in, money out. But and I think the networking events are good for that. When you go to small business owner programs, or you meet people who are maybe they're branching off from their accounting firm, or maybe they're starting a business. And I found my bookkeeper that way. She was obviously very bright. She was just coming back from having children, so she was pivoting back into the workforce. And it worked great. We kind of grew together, and that was really great.
No, I really love this conversation too. I feel like it's so important too with pivoting and realizing with, you know, how you engage with your family and putting like the relationships first, making sure those are solid. Because, you know, when you have a family of, you know, entrepreneurs and stuff, it's like, it can get really confusing. It's like, okay, you're supporting, but it's like, well, you still have to have this, to the core family relationship has to be strong.
This is why I worry about a lot of influencers right now. And they are struggling with serious mental health, because so much of their value has been placed in their audience, and and they've let a lot of other maybe relationships go. It doesn't mean you have to have a husband. Doesn't mean you have to have a kids. Doesn't mean any of that. It could be your close friends that you're investing in. But we're forgetting that that's what actually adds value to your life. And for some people, I'm not saying people shouldn't be go-getters. There are people meant to do that for sure. But I think it's good to recognize if you're not that person. It's not good for your mental health to try to keep up with all the people who are getting sponsorships and getting paid to do this and getting paid to do that. If it comes to you naturally and you want to try it, that's a pivot you can try. But I just think it's so important to just remember what's really important. And I will say this, I've been through a lot of challenges, and because I put my family and my relationships first, I've had some crap happen. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like, I feel like as crazy as things get and as hard as I get on myself sometimes, I always look at it and I'm like, but every decision I made with with the things I talked about, the finding out what my deal breakers are, what my priorities are, what my non-negotiables are. I stayed pretty true to those things, even when it was really hard. And then it landed me in a better place. So like the TV is a perfect example, because if I had just put my family on the internet and put my kids on the internet and done all the talked about all the funny things they did, and nothing's wrong with that if that feels safe to you. That didn't feel safe to me, and it didn't feel safe to my kids. They didn't want to be on the internet. So I wasn't willing to sell that for likes. And because of that, for us, it made us healthier, stronger, and more connected. And ultimately, I know that's more important than my follower count, or than having a TV show, or than any of that stuff. Doesn't mean it won't happen again for me in the future. Doesn't mean I won't get another TV show, but I'm not going to sacrifice the things that genuinely make me happy, healthy, and able to do my business and able to do good work to get that.
I love that. Yeah. And I love how you mentioned, it could be your close-knit family. It could be your really close friends. But it's like, as humans, we want to bond. We want to bond constantly, right? So it's like, we're going to bond to our followers, or to the numbers, or to our business. And it's like, you have to put some kind of a cap on that, because otherwise that's just a recipe.
And this is how you do it, is you check in. What are my priorities? Are they being met? Am I being true to myself? Paul has great advice. DesignerAdvantage.com. It's like a whole networking system for professionals on the back end. That's great. I know there are a lot of services. Design Assisted is a friend of mine, and I don't know if they do the bookkeeping, but they definitely do a lot of project management, procurement. They'll even do like product boards and sourcing for you and stuff like that. That's hourly. There's like contractual hourly things. So that's one of my, I know we have to go. That's one of my, when I was talking about preparing for pivots and things that happen in your business, that's one of those things you should have in your back pocket. It might cost you a little more money, but if you're really in a pickle and you're like, I need support, you need to know where you can go to get that support. And those kind of companies that do that, virtual assistants, design virtual assistants, that's fantastic. Aren't you guys starting to offer something like that? Design Files? Am I crazy? Or something? It's not virtual assistants. It's like, oh no, you know what? It's coaching, I think.
We offer like, one-on-one.
Yes, to talk through the system. Yeah.
Yeah. One-on-one calls, for like, kind of strategy, like figuring out which features to make use of, kind of optimizing your time and stuff like that. Yeah. And then we're kind of growing the team features too. That's team great. Functionality and tasks are all growing. Yeah.
Yes. All that's great. I see so many improvements and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Jan. Thank you for loving me on HGTV. We loved it too. You're going in a different direction, Jan. It's okay. It's all meant to be, right?
The phrase, huh? Going in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can come back just as quick. That's why I say, like, don't put all your eggs into this basket. Everyone's telling you this is the future. This is what you have to do. Do your work. Do it well. Figure out your priorities. Figure out your goals. Be ready to change them. Yeah. I mean, we've all done crazy things, like I've had to reinvent myself so many times.
Yeah. I feel like that's part of life. I was watching this video on Instagram of this woman that was like 100 years old, and she was a park ranger, and it was taking her through all the phases of her life in this 2-minute video, and it's like just all the different careers, and it's like, think if you live to be that long, think of all the different,
you're lucky
things that you'll have done. So
oh my gosh, I should have posted the pictures of me and like when I was in theater. It's so funny. Anyway, but that's a whole nother life. And then giving it all up to be a parent, and then working odd jobs, like make ends meet, and helping support my husband so he could get his career, and then him helping support me so I could do mine. It's like been a whole dance. And because I prioritize the right things, and you can too, and you end up in a happier place.
Yes, 100%. Well, thank you so much for giving us the emotional side, the real side, and then also kind of like the strategy and then the walkthrough. Really appreciate that. And I know this has been really impactful for people that are pivoting right now.
Yes, we kind of all are in some way, right?
We're all pivoting. Yeah.
And Kaylee gave us some other good, I guess, like a good financials place in PA. That's cool.
Yeah.
So we got lots here. And you guys saw this for the time management again. It was really good. Yeah. I had to work through it with them. So it was so helpful. I'm telling you. And it's similar to this stuff, reaching your goals, setting your dreams, all that. Really helpful.
Awesome. I love that. I just popped the link where people can get the slides again into the chat, and we'll send that out via email. Thank you so much, Noelle. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.